Hello, fifth graders, and happy Tuesday. Yesterday we talked about how to represent fractions as division problems. Today we're going to talk about how to represent improper fractions and mixed numbers as division problems. I know you're going to do a great job, and so does Mr. Smiles. Let's dive right in. Let's start with our do now. Write 207 and 48 thousandths in expanded form. Okay, when I do this, I write it as the sum of the value of each digit. What place is the 2 in? The 2 is in the hundreds place. So I would write 2 times 100. What place is the 7 in? The 7 is in the ones place. So I would write 7 times 1. What place is the 4 in? The 4 is in the hundreds place. So I would write 4 times 1 over 100. What place is the 8 in? The 8 is in the thousands place. So I would write 8 times 1 over 1,000. Now let's do another problem, number 2. What is 36 and 5/10 minus 12 and 24 hundredths? Well, what's the most important thing to do when subtracting two decimals? I need to line up the decimal points. So I'm going to write 36 and 5/10 minus 12 and 24 hundredths. I can place a 0 behind the 5 so that both decimals end in the same place value. I can't subtract 0 minus 4, so I need to borrow from the 5. Go ahead and finish your subtraction problem now. What's 36 and 5/10 minus 12 and 24 hundredths? Well, 10 minus 4 is 6, 4 minus 2 is 2, 6 minus 2 is 4, and 3 minus 1 is 2. The answer is 24 and 26 hundredths. Now let's do another. Two fractions are represented below. First, what is the fraction represented by the top bar? It's 3/4. What is the fraction represented by the bottom bar? It's 1/6. What operation should I use to find the sum of the fractions? The sum is the answer to an addition problem. What operation should I use to find the difference between the fractions? The difference is the answer to a subtraction problem. To add or subtract fractions, I need them to have the same denominator. So first, I need to find the least common denominator of 3/4 and 1/6. Go ahead and list your 4s and your 6s. What's the least common denominator? The least common denominator is 12. Now I need to change each fraction so that the denominator is 12. 4 times what is 12? 4 times 3 is 12. What's 3 times 3? It's 9, so 3/4 is equal to 9/12. 6 times what is 12? 6 times 2 is 12. What's 1 times 2? It's 2. So 1/6 is equal to 2/12. Now I can find the sum of the fractions. What's 9/12 plus 2/12? It's 11/12. Remember, when I have the same denominator, I can add my numerators and the denominator stays the same. Now let's find the difference. What's 9/12 minus 2/12? It's 7/12. The last problem that I need to answer on this page is to divide 158 by 4. First, list the multiples of 4. What's 4 times 1? All the way to 4 times 9. Go ahead and list the multiples of 4 on your paper and then enter them on the computer screen. Check to make sure your multiples look like mine. Now I can divide 158 divided by 4. When I start my division problem, should I start in the hundreds place? Can I split 1 into 4 groups? Should I start in the tens place? Can I split 15 into 4 groups? Or should I start in the ones place with 158? I should start in the tens place. I can split 15 into 4 groups. How many times does 4 go into 15? 4 goes into 15 3 times. What's 3 times 4? It's 12. When I subtract, how many do I have left over? I have 3, and I can bring down my 8. How many times does 4 go into 38? 4 goes into 38 9 times. What's 9 times 4? It's 36. When I subtract, how many do I have left over? I have 2. So my answer is 39, remainder 2. Take a look at the fluency on page 2. You have as much time as you need, but it should only take 3 minutes. Answer all of those multiplication questions. When you're finished, raise your hand so that Ms. Tramontosi can check your work and tell you to move on. Yesterday we talked about how we can write proper fractions as division problems. Today we're going to write improper fractions and mixed numbers as division problems. Let's look at the first question. A baker has 3 pounds of flour to ship. He pours the flour evenly into 2 containers. How many pounds of flour are in each container? Well, what's being split up in this problem? 3 pounds of flour are being split up. Into how many groups? Into 2 groups. So let's write a division sentence to help us answer this problem. I'm splitting up the 3, so my division sentence is 3 divided by 2. I know from yesterday that I could write that as an improper fraction. What fraction is equal to 3 divided by 2? It's 3 over 2, numerator divided by denominator. Now let's model the problem. I know that if I'm splitting 3 into 2 groups, I can take them 2 at a time. Here's 2. And I can put 1 in each group. I have 1 left, so I don't have enough to put a whole 1 into each group. I've got to split it into 2 pieces. One half goes in container 1, and the other half goes in container 2. So 1 1/2 pounds of flour can go in each container. Let's show our work. I know that 3 divided by 2 is 3 over 2. I can change that into a mixed number. What operation would I use to change 3 over 2 into a mixed number? I would use division. 3 divided by 2. How many times does 2 go into 3? 2 goes into 3 1 time. What's 1 times 2? It's 2, with 1 left over. So how would I write that as a mixed number? Well, I have 1 whole with 1 left over out of 2. So the answer is 1 1/2. Now let's answer in a complete sentence. 1 1/2 pounds are in each container. You might see a question on the LEAP that asks, between which 2 whole numbers does the amount of flour in each container lie? Well, if I have 1 1/2, that's 1 plus a little bit more, but it's less than 2 wholes. The correct answer here is A, between 1 and 2. 1 1/2 is more than 1, but less than 2. Let's do another example. Amari used 12 cups of flour to make 5 mini pizzas. He used the same amount in each pizza. How much flour did Amari use for each pizza? What's being split up in this problem, and into how many groups? Well, 12 cups of flour are being split up across 5 pizzas. So write a division sentence and improper fraction to match the problem. Which division sentence matches the problem? 12 divided by 5. 12 cups split into 5 groups. How would I write that as an improper fraction? I would write 12 over 5. Numerator divided by denominator. Let's model it. I know that I'm splitting 12 into 5 groups, so I can take 5 at a time and put 1 in each group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One, two, three, four, 5. Make sure your paper looks like my screen. Now I've got 2 wholes left. I can't split them across 5 groups, so I have to cut them each into 5 pieces. I know that each group is going to receive 1 piece from each cup. So pizza 1 receives 2/5. Pizza 2 receives 2/5. Pizza 3 receives 2/5. Pizza 4 receives 2/5. And pizza 5 receives 2/5. So each pizza gets 2 2/5 cups of flour. Now let's prove it by showing our work. I know that I'm dividing 12 divided by 5, which is 12/5. What operation could I use to change that into a mixed number? I could use division. 12 divided by 5. How many times does 5 go into 12? 5 goes into 12 twice. What's 2 times 5? It's 10. When I subtract, there's 2 left over. So I can write it as a mixed number as 2 2/5. Between which 2 whole numbers does 2 2/5 lie? Well, 2 2/5 is more than 2 but less than 3. So the correct answer is B. Now let's take some notes. An improper fraction can be written as a division problem. And a division problem can be written as an improper fraction. Just like yesterday, it is written as numerator divided by denominator. That means the number being split up is the numerator, the dividend is the numerator, and the number of groups, or the divisor, is the denominator, the number you're dividing by. Remember, convert improper fractions to mixed numbers and write all fractions in simplest form. Take a moment to make sure you have your notes down, and then let's go do some practice problems. Let's look at the first one. 3 friends share 4 apples equally. What fraction of an apple does each friend get? First, what's being split up in this problem? 4 apples are being split up in this problem. So which division sentence would we use? We are dividing 4 apples across 3 friends. Write that as an improper fraction. It's 4/3. Now let's show our work and find our answer. Change 4/3 into a mixed number now. 4/3 is the same as 1 1/3, so the correct answer is D. Now try question B. The number of apples each friend gets is between which 2 whole numbers? Well, 1 1/3 is between 1 and 2. Now let's do the next one. A church donated 12 pounds of red beans to give to a food bank. They poured the beans evenly into 8 bags to ship to the church. How many pounds of beans were in each bag? What's being split up here? The 12 pounds of red beans are being split up. So what division sentence would I use? I would do 12 divided by 8. What's 12 divided by 8 written as an improper fraction? It's 12/8. Now let's change 12/8 into a mixed number. Go ahead and do that on your paper now. I get 1 4/8, but I don't see that as one of my answer choices. What do I likely still need to do? I need to simplify. What's the greatest number that goes into both 4 and 8? It's 4. What's 4 divided by 4? It's 1. What's 8 divided by 4? It's 2. So the correct answer is 1 1/2, or answer choice D. Let's do another problem. Mr. Gibson bought 13 packs of goldfish. He let 3 students share the goldfish evenly. How many packs did each student receive? Write your answer as a mixed number. Go ahead and answer that question now. Each student received 4 1/3 packs of goldfish. Let's look at number 2. Mr. Hinckley owns 23 acres of land. He divides the land into 5 equal sections to sell to 5 buyers. Which phrase describes how much land in acres each buyer will receive? What's being split up in this problem? The 23 acres of land into 5 groups. Go ahead and solve to write that as a mixed number and then answer the question. Between which 2 whole numbers will that answer lie? First, write it as a mixed number. What's 23 divided by 5 written as a mixed number? It's 4 3/5. Now answer the question. Between which 2 whole numbers does that lie? It lies between 4 and 5. Now let's try another problem. 4 people are weeding 9 flower beds. If the work is divided evenly, how many flower beds will each person weed? What's being split up in this problem? 9 flower beds are being split up by 4 people. Go ahead and solve that problem. Write your answer as a mixed number. Each person will weed 2 1/4 flower beds. Now let's look at another. The Smith family likes to paddle along the Susquehanna River. They paddled the same distance each day over the course of 3 days, traveling a total of 14 miles. Which best describes the number of miles they traveled each day, and how many miles did they travel each day? 14 miles is being split up across 3 groups. First, answer question number 3. How many miles did they travel each day? Write your answer as a mixed number. They traveled 4 2/3 miles each day. Which 2 whole numbers does that fall between? That's between 4 and 5 miles. Let's do number 4 and 5. Mrs. Baker's class is working on a science project. There are 10 project groups. Mrs. Baker has 17 packs of construction paper for all the groups to share. How many packs of construction paper will each group get to use? What's being split up in this problem? 17 packs of paper are being split up in this problem. So what division sentence would we use? We would use 17 divided by 10. So divide and find your answer. Do that now. The correct answer is B. Let's do another problem. Jacob walked his dog 11 miles in 4 days. He walked the same amount each day. How many miles did Jacob walk his dog each day? What's being split up here? 11 miles are being split across 4 days. What division sentence would we use to solve this problem? 11 divided by 4. Go ahead and solve the problem now. The correct answer is B, 2 3/4 miles. Let's do another. A group of 4 students went apple picking. The students picked a total of 25 pounds of apples. Each student gets to take home the same amount of apples. How many pounds of apples will each student get? What's being split up in this problem? 25 pounds of apples are being split up. So which division sentence would I use? I would divide 25 divided by 4. Go ahead and divide and find your answer now. Make sure you write it as a mixed number. Each student would get to keep 6 1/4 pounds of apples. Let's do another. After soccer practice, 8 players shared 13 bags of trail mix evenly. How many bags of trail mix did each player receive? What's being split up in this problem? 13 bags are being split up. So what's the matching division sentence? It's 13 divided by 8. Now I can divide and answer. Write your answer as a mixed number. Each player got 1 5/8 bags of trail mix. You've done a great job on this video. Now it's time to take your exit ticket. When you finish your exit ticket, raise your hand to show Ms. Tramontosi your score. Don't leave your seat. After you're finished, get on Prodigy.